Hey everybody, welcome to U.S. Customary Length Conversion. This is a chart that one of the colleagues that I work with found, and it pretty much lays everything out that we're going to be looking at. So we're going to be looking at inches, feet, yards, but really if you look and see how this chart works, you can really adapt it to work with anything that's in our customary length. Okay? We're going to start off with these two up here. 12 inches equals 1 foot, 3 feet equal a yard. You just got to memorize it. It's one of those things you just got to remember. It's like when I tell the kids, how do you know what B says? How do you know it's B says B? Well, you've just memorized it. You just see it and you know. That's one of those things I'm just going to know. 12 inches is a foot, 3 feet is a yard. We've got to put that into our memory. Okay? So when we use this chart, if you look, we're going from, here's a small unit, to a little bit bigger, to a little bit bigger. So we're going from small to big. Now over here when we're looking at the units, if we go from small to big, we know we're going to divide. So you can see the division symbols up here that are going to help us out. Small to big means divide. If we're going from bigger units like yards to feet to inches, we're going to multiply. Okay? So we have big to small means multiply. And I'm going to show you in this space right here how this chart works and how you can help out at home with it. Okay? So let's say let's just go with 4 yards. And I want to know how many feet that's going to be. Okay? 4 yards equals how many feet? Well, let's take a look. Yards are bigger than feet. I'm going from big to small, so I'm going to multiply. But I can also use this chart to help me out. I'm going from yards, and follow the arrow. I'm going from yards to feet, and that means I'm going to multiply. And I'm going to multiply by 3, because there are 3 feet for every yard. So when I do 4 times 3, I end up with 12 feet. Now here's the part where you can stop and ask your student, does that make sense? Does it make sense that we have more feet than we do yards? We only have 4 yards here, but we have 12 feet. And what you want to get your kids to say is that, well, yeah, that does make sense because yards are a lot bigger than feet. So it makes sense that we're going to have a lot of little feet to make up a big yard. Okay? Let's take a look at another one. How about we go from a small unit to a big unit? So why don't we go, how about 36 inches? Equals blank feet. Well, we're going from small units to bigger units. When we go from small to big, we divide. And now we can just use this chart again to help us out. We're going from inches to feet. I trace it with my finger. There's the number I want to use. I want to divide by 12. When I do 36 divided by 12, how many 12s make up a 36? Well, 3 of them do. Once again, this is an area for discussion with your student where you can say, okay, well, does that make sense now? We have 36 little inches and we have 3 feet. And we want to get your student to the point where they can go, well, yeah, that makes sense because it takes 36 little inches to make 3 of these big feet. So I'm going to have 3 groups of these little tiny 12s, 12, 12, and 12. That makes sense. Okay? One last thing I wanted to talk about when we're talking about customary length is just giving some kids some personal references that they can use. Now, I don't know if it's how personal it is, but for my classroom, the references I like to talk about a lot are taking their fingers, putting it on their nostrils, not squeezing it, but just putting it on the side of their nostrils and then holding it up. And we say, that's about an inch. So if you're ever wondering about how big an inch is, you got it right there. Take your fingers, go, whoop, there's your inch right there. Now I tell the kids they're lucky that they have Mr. DeLugas as a teacher because my stinky shoes, I wear about a size 11 and a half or 12, so Mr. DeLugas's stinky shoes, they can look at that and go, okay, so that's about how big a foot is. Mr. DeLugas's stinky shoe is about 1 foot. Then I tell them they're also lucky because if I take a yardstick, and I take this yardstick and put it right next to my legs are about a yard. So if they just point at my skinny legs, they know my leg is about a yard. So we've got 3 references to use so we can kind of gauge those things. Here's my inch, here's my foot, here's my yard. So this is our customary length conversion chart helper. Hope it helps out. And some of the things that the students should know to go along with that.